COSHH explained. Topics to be covered. What COSHH is. What COSHH covers. What COSHH does not cover. COSHH symbols and meanings. Why is COSHH important? What does COSHH require? Hazardous substances to health. The different hazardous substances. Hazardous substances at the workplace. Where are hazardous substances found? What is a substance hazardous to health under COSHH? What is not a substance hazardous to health under COSHH? Effects of hazardous substances. What is COSHH? The best way to understand what COSHH is to determine what the letters stand for, which is the Control of Substances Hazardous to Health Regulations Act 2002. These are regulations that are in place to keep us safe from chemicals and other substances in the workplace that we do not want to have anywhere near us, or at least not without the correct safety equipment and precautions in place. The name of this legislation is quite a mouthful, so you'll find most people refer to this act and all matters relating to it as COSHH. What is a hazardous substance? A hazardous substance is any substance that can cause us harm and even death. They usually reach us through inhalation, our skin. The type of injuries and disease sustained by such substances are wide and varied, but they are always serious, which is why there is such complex legislation in place. There are more details about hazardous substances coming up further on in this module. Some types of hazardous substances can be dangerous rather than harmful, and you need to controls in place because they might cause explosions, intensify or fuel a fire, seriously damage nature or the environment. What COSHH covers? COSHH covers the common hazardous substances often found in the workplace. COSHH guides us on how we must handle, store and control hazardous substances so that we may reduce the risk of harm and injury to ourselves and others, as much as possible. There are also other regulations in place that influence COSHH, and in Module 2, we cover some of these regulations in more detail. As you will come to see, controlling and managing hazardous substances is a complicated matter which reflects in the legislation. COSHH does not cover. COSHH does not cover any substances that have separate regulations. These substances usually have their own set of regulations due to the nature of the substance. Just because COSHH doesn't cover these types of substances doesn't mean that you should handle them without precaution. Usually, these are substances that require more regulations and more control than the substances we are focusing on in COSHH. Typical examples of the types of substances not covered by COSHH are asbestos, flammables, explosives, radioactive materials. As you can imagine, these types of substances require a higher level of control. Their safety precautions will be more complex and entirely different from the common substances that COSHH covers. We discuss this topic in more detail further on in this module.